All right. Hey, everybody, this is Cody from IT. Let me stop sharing for a second so you can see me. Hey, guys, this is Cody from IT. Welcome to episode 5 of IT Live. If you are, as always, please let me know if you can't hear me, you can't see me. Really, if anything is going wrong with the feed, I do have the feed up, but it does give me a little bit of lag. So let me see. Let me just make sure. But if you are joining us live, make sure that you start with putting in the chat box, who are you, what's your role, where are you joining us from, and we'll get some questions going as we go through the feed, as we go through the IT Live episode. And this episode, I'm super excited for. Let me just make sure that you can hear me. It sounds like there's some sound, huh? But as you guys put in the chat box where you're from, what your role is, I'm really excited for this episode. This episode we titled, "But what do I teach?" Right, and that's such a great question when we're talking about screen reader instruction, isn't it? What do you teach? For our students that are learning a screen reader like JAWS, NVDA, Chromevox, what usually happens is we say, okay, we want to make sure that we are teaching the computer. We want to make sure that we're teaching them how to use a screen reader. And what do? Well, you write an IEP goal, right? I've seen many of these IEP goals that given a laptop and screen reader software, so-and-so will be introduced to JAWS, right? And that's an okay place to start, right? Or you might say something like, so-and-so will learn 5 important key commands over the course of the year. And that's an okay place to start. But I think as a field, we can do better. All right. If you are watching live, feel free to put in the chat. Who are you? Where are you from? Where are you joining us from? It looks like we have right now we have about 9 watching right now live. So if you are one of those 9, put in the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen where you're from, where you're joining us from. Are you a TVI? Are you a parent? Are you a screen reader user yourself? Just so that we can get kind of an idea so that we can kind of tailor this video to you guys. But yeah, so what do I teach? So this episode, what we're going to be talking about is some of the tools that we have available to you guys for free that help you in answering that question for your learners. What do I teach? Where do I start? It should be a really good time. Now, yeah, so what we start with usually is with this IEP goal, five key commands. They'll learn 5 key commands or they'll be introduced to JAWS. But really what's happening when we write these goals is that we are, our students, when they go out into the world, they're going out into the world in a world in which you have to be computer literate, right? You have to. You can't go through a job where you are not computer literate. It's just if you're not computer literate, you're not going to be employable. And all of their peers are computer literate, right? We have classroom settings in which students are using Chromebooks, they're using PCs, they're actively on Schoology, they're actively on Google Classroom, and that's where instruction is taking place. And if our students don't go out into the world and they're not computer literate, then what happens, right? Awesome. Hey, Abby, I'm just reading some of your guys' comments from Michigan. Welcome, Abby. TVI from NC, North Carolina, right? Teaching students in Maryland virtually. Awesome. I'm also in Maryland, so welcome. Love it. TVI teaching virtually and in person, depending on the district. Absolutely. So actually, to let you guys know, I'm a TVI full-time for Baltimore County Public Schools. We are teaching virtually the entire time. So it's really an interesting school year. So welcome to all of you. So back to what I was saying with we need our students to go out into the world with computer literacy. It has to happen. Now, the problem with those goals in saying like they're going to be introduced to JAWS or they're going to learn 5 key commands is that we don't teach key commands, right? Good screen reader instruction is not about teaching key commands. And people kind of look at me when I say that in conferences or on webinars, and they look a little confused. What are we teaching them? We're teaching skills, right? We're teaching concepts. We're teaching methods. The key commands, yes, are the ways that we do those, but we have to teach the skill and we have to teach the concept first, right? Just like students don't learn what the little Windows icon is on the start menu, they learn how to open a program, right? The method, the key command, the icons, those will come if you teach the skills and you teach the concepts. But 5 key commands, that's not where we should be starting with our objectives, and that's not where we should be starting. What should we be starting with? That's what we're going to answer today. Really, I want to paint you this picture. Our students are going to a construction site and they're bringing only a hammer with them. They might have 1 or 2 methods with them. They might have 1 or 2 concepts under their belt, but we need to make sure that they go to that construction site with a whole toolbox, And I'm going to be showing you guys what a whole toolbox looks like today. Okay. Now, why are they going with just a hammer? Well, that's because those are the objectives that we are writing for them. We are saying Sally will be equipped with a hammer. Okay, great. That's important. That's an important tool for Sally to go to her construction site with. But Sally also needs a drill. Sally also needs a screwdriver. Sally also needs a jackhammer. Sally also needs all of these other tools that you might need at a construction site, right? If we say Sally needs a hammer, right? Sally needs to learn 5 key commands. Doesn't matter what they are, but if she learns her 5 key commands, then she will be computer literate. That's just not a reality. That's just not reality. So what are we going to be learning today? What is this toolbox? What does this whole toolbox look like? Well, let me share my screen for you. And as I do this, I'm going to tell you, we're going to be dividing this IT Live episode into about 3 parts. The first part is I'm going to show you our toolbox. All right. For us, this is the screen reader progression. And hopefully you all can see that. Let me just make sure that you can. Let me get rid of this little window so you're not seeing 2 of me. Yeah, so this is our screen reader skills progression. Now, if you are familiar with our resources, people get really, really excited about our screen reader cheat sheets where it has all the key commands on it. And that's great. That's awesome. And that's there for a reason. That's a tool that you have in your toolbox. But for me, when I started creating these resources for everybody, the screen reader skills progression, what you're looking at right here, this is the most important, because when I said, what does an entire toolbox look like? This is what an entire toolbox looks like. Now, what is this? This is essentially a scope and sequence, right? A list of objectives from the beginning to the end of what you should be teaching your learners if you're doing screen reader instruction. Okay, now let's take a look at this. We have, first of all, just to get you guys oriented, if you haven't seen this before, we have 4 phases. Phase 1, reading. Phase 2, writing. Phase 3, the internet. And phase 4 is system navigation and file management, those advanced kind of computer skills. Really quickly, let's just run through our phases. Phase 1, reading, is mainly about reading text. Okay, reading things on the internet, reading articles, making sure you can get to the top of the article, making sure you can access information from text on a computer. It doesn't matter if it's on the internet. It doesn't matter. Just kind of, can they access text? Writing, this is where a lot of focus comes from when we start talking about computer instruction. Writing is typing, right? Being able to enter text, being able to demonstrate learning, right? Now that you can read a story, can you answer questions, right? And that's a whole section of technology instruction. There's lots of different things involved in that. Typing, one of being the main thing, right? You can see this in objective 2, 2.2. We got be able to use all alphanumeric keys on the keyboard. That's a huge one, right? And then 3, the internet, right? Now, the internet is where we're going to be focusing a lot of our time, because although a lot of professionals understand how to access text, a lot of professionals understand how do you teach typing, and they have some ideas in that. The internet is a big mystery, all right? And we've broken this down into our, first of all, our 3 methods of basic internet navigation, which you can see in objective 3, 4, and 5. If you don't know about that, we'll go over that in a second. But we also have these objectives down here. Be able to justify why, right, they chose a certain method of internet navigation. That's really, really important. And then today, what we're going to be looking at, let me see if I can zoom in here so that we can look at this objective. We're going to be looking at the student will be able to develop a navigation sequence to access unfamiliar websites. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the goal, right? We want our students to be able to sit down at a computer they've never used before that has NVDA on it. They go to a website that they are not familiar with, and they should be able to access it. Why do I say that's the goal? Well, that's because that's what an employer would expect from an employee, right? Welcome. This is your first day. You're going to go through training. Here's all of our systems. sit down at the computer and your job is to learn them, right? If a student doesn't have the ability by the end of high school to sit down at a website that they haven't been to before and have a clue as to what to do, that's probably not good, right? We want to be able to have them at least have an idea to develop a navigation sequence for an unfamiliar website. Does that mean that that navigation sequence has to be right all of the time? No, absolutely not. But you can see how these objectives do not involve key commands. These are skills and concepts and methods, okay? So that's why, what does a whole toolbox look like? This is what a whole toolbox looks like, right? Now, do some of these include key commands? Absolutely. Look at this, number 3. Student will be able to use tab to navigate by clickable object, right? That's a key command, right? That some of these will include key commands. Student will be able to navigate by quick keys. Those involve key commands, right? But are we saying that the student will use H to find the next heading? Not necessarily, right? That's all the way up here at method when they're at this level, when they're in phase 3, we're learning skills and concepts, not key commands. So that's why I say people get really excited about the screen reader cheat sheets that I'll show you in a second. But the screen reader skills progression, this is your toolbox as a teacher and as a learner of screen readers. This is what you want to do. Now, as we start to get into this, before we kind of move on and I show you a demonstration of why this is important and how to use it, I want to show you where to find this, because it's really important that that you know that after this, if you're like, oh, I really like this and I want to use it, it is free, and I want to show you how to find it. So let me go on here to which one am I using? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to our website. That's itvision.com. That's EYETVISION.com. All right. You're going to get to this website right here. Learn to use a computer like everybody else. That's what we want to do. That's our mission, right? I'm signed in here. If you're not signed in, you make a free account, totally free. And then what you can do is go to all courses. All right. Now, these are our current courses that you can enroll in. What I want you to enroll in is this mini course, Introduction to Screen Reader Instruction. If you're an instructor of students with visual impairments and you're teaching screen readers, this is what you want to enroll in, all right? If you click on that in the first module, right, we have our screen reader skills progression. Now, this is a really big announcement. Now the screen reader skills progression has been out for a while, but just today it has been updated to add more objectives for spring of 2021. So this is the spring 2021 version, and you can see this here, screen reader skills progression spring 21. Okay, so this is a brand new screen reader skills progression. If you already have it, come up to the course, re-download it again so you can get those new objectives in there. And as you can see, this is the same document I'm working off of right now. Now, again, if you are not familiar with IT, like I was saying, people get really excited about these cheat sheets. They look great. I know, I get it. And the key commands are awesome. And they are really great. They are really good tools, but don't skip this screen reader skills progression. This is your toolbox. Okay. Now, let me stay on this page. I'll stay on this page to kind of start working on it just because it's nice and big and I like it. You read my mind, Abby. I love it. I'm glad. I'm not sure what I read your mind on, but I love that I'm reading your mind. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to be delving into, we can understand phase 1 really easily, reading. Phase 2, writing. If you do have questions about those, please put them in the chat box. I love it. But we're going to really focus on phase 3, the internet. This is why this is important. It is very easy that you can just be pulling objectives out of your brain or on the internet and just kind of be plopping them into lessons. But this is why it's important to be really planful. All right. This is how we are going to allow our students to have that toolbox, to bring that toolbox of things to the construction site instead of just bringing a hammer. We have to have it build on each other and show that our students that this is meaningful. I'm going to really quick take a very in-depth view on this phase 3, the internet. So we start phase 3, the internet. Well, let's see where we end. First of all, again, we are trying to end at 9, to be able to develop a navigation sequence to access an unfamiliar website. There's a lot in there, right? If the student is sitting in front of an unfamiliar website, they have to understand elements. They have to understand methods of navigation. They need to understand why they might use a certain method of navigation. They might need to understand things about how to troubleshoot. They might need if something goes wrong, what are they going to do? There's a lot in that objective. If I just plopped this on an IEP, let's just say I threw it on a kid's IEP, are they going to be able to meet that in a year? Not if I don't explicitly go through every one of those things that are embedded in that. And that's what we've done for you here. So let's say that this is our goal. This is our end goal, to be able to develop a navigation. By the end of the year, our student will be able to develop a navigation sequence to access an unfamiliar website. Now let's go to the beginning and see how these build off of each other to get there. All right. So our student first needs to understand, to be able to define element types, right? They need to understand headings. They need to understand buttons. They need to understand links, tables, as well as text, right? There's other element types. We go over them on our paid course, Basic Internet Navigation. We go over edit fields. We go over graphics with alt text, right? These are all information. These are all types of elements, right? We also go over which ones are clickable and which ones are text elements, only there for information. That's really, really important that they understand and are able to define those types of elements before we navigate anything, right? The next one, they have to be able to identify each element by type. If the screen reader lands on a button and it says blah, 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 button, our student has to be aware enough to say, oh, that was a button because it said button, right? That's a skill that has to be in there before we navigate anything. They have to be able to define it. They have to be able to identify each element. Now we get into our methods of navigation. If you're familiar with IT, this is probably what you know us by. Our 3 methods of basic internet navigation. The first one, using tab to navigate by clickable object. What is a clickable object? Well, they should have learned it when they were talking about element types, right? What are those clickable objects? Links, buttons, edit fields, right? Those things that you can click on. To be able to use tab to find the next clickable object. Method 2 is to be able to navigate by quick keys. For example, H for heading, B for button, V and U for link. If you're using JAWS, if it's Chromevox, it's, shift and L, not shift, search and L, right? Chromevox and L. All right. And then method 3 is elements list, where you pull up that whole dialog box of all of the elements on the page and you use first letter navigation. All of those methods, right, have a different purpose. First of all of those methods depend on, if you're able to use any one of those methods, you have to know what element type you're looking for. That's why we had the first 2 objectives before that, right? And then also all 3 of those methods, even if you can use all of those 3 methods in isolation, you have to understand why you're using that method. Why are you choosing method 1 over method 2? Why are you choosing method 3 over method 1, right? Why, right? And that moves into our next objective, to be able to justify why they selected a particular method. The next one, to be able to switch between screen reader modes. This is a really important skill, especially as we get into Google Drive, into Google Sheets. We get into those apps. We did a lot with Desmos in the first episode of IT Live. Switching modes was one of the things that I had to do in the middle of the live stream, something that I hadn't planned because it's just something that you have to know as a screen reader user to be able to switch modes. You have to be able to know how to navigate a table, right? That's a whole skill, right? Because you're going to end up with tables. And then after this, after we have learned the types of elements, to be able to define them, to be able to name them, we learn our 3 methods of navigation. After we learned why we use our 3 methods of navigation, we learn how to switch modes, and we learn how to navigate a table. Then finally, we can do instruction on developing your own navigation sequence. Why? Because we've given Sally more than just the hammer, right? We've given her an entire toolbox of things to use. All of these objectives, each one is a tool in that toolbox. And objective 9 in phase 3.9 is, let's bring it all together and use it at our construction site. Let's sit you down in front of an unfamiliar website and coach you through how to use a navigation sequence, or how to develop a navigation sequence for yourself. What are we going to do today? We are going to develop a navigation sequence. And my point here, if you leave here with anything, I want you to leave here with this next statement, is that the ability for me to do this demonstration, the next demonstration, I need to understand and I need to have met all of the objectives that came before. That is why the screen reader progression is the most important tool that we offer for free, because actually the most important tool we offer at all, right? Because you have to have an order and a planned order as to what you're doing next. right? What you're starting with, what you're doing next, right? Before we do the demonstration, because I know that that's the most exciting part of any IT Live video is the demonstration. But before we do that, please put in the chat box if you have any questions about any of that. Comments, anything that you want to share with us. We'd love to hear it. But before we even get onto the demonstration, I want to tell you, how do you use this, okay? At the end of this episode, I want you to stick around, because at the end of this episode, we will be debuting a data sheet, giving you a little sneak peek of a data sheet that we have developed that you can use with this screen reader progression. So you can download the progression, use the data sheet, and assess where your student is in these objectives, so that you know when you come back to school after break, you know where to start. You know what the next step is going to be. You know what to put on your student's IEP, and you know what's going to be objective of your next session. Okay. So that's what we're going to be doing at the end. So stick around. Okay. So let's do this demonstration. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be objective 9. I'm going to be developing a navigation sequence to access an unfamiliar website. I'm going to show you what that instruction might look like, assuming that our student knows all of the objectives. They know our 3 methods of navigation. They know how to justify which method they're going to be using. And they're developing a navigation sequence, which is what we've been doing during IT Live anyway. So let me stop sharing, and I'm gonna put our demonstration up on the screen and open my screen reader. If you have a preference as to what screen reader we're gonna be using, I can use NVDA or JAWS today. Put it in the chat box and let me know which screen reader you'd like to see. Okay. Otherwise, I'm just gonna choose which one. So absolutely. Tell us which screen reader you use. Oh, Abby gave us a comment. Do you recommend using the sheet to write an IEP goal? And if so, could you give an example? It seems like it could be a useful tool to guide and monitor progress. Absolutely, Abby. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stop what we're doing here. I'm gonna show you how to write this IEP goal. And actually, we developed this screen reader progression to write IEP goals. They're written for that purpose. We have a very exciting, well, I'll tell you that at the end. So here's actually, this is a sneak peek of the data sheet. So stay tuned. Let me get that screen reader progression back up on the screen here. All right. So let's do enable editing, and I'm going to zoom in here so we can get a little bit of a better view. Zoom. Let's bring it up to 200. Boom. All right. So let's take, Abby, great question. NVDA. Wow. It looks like we're using NVDA today. Awesome. Thanks for, oh, sorry, Abby. I guess you're outnumbered, but that's okay. And if you know anything about IT, you know that we are very, 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 very adamant on the fact that NVDA and JAWS, they're so much more similar than you think. Abby, I'll try to get you with, if anything is different with JAWS, I'll definitely let you know. Okay. But Abby, let's take a look at how we would write these IEP objectives. Let's take just a regular one, right? Like one in the middle here, 3.4. The student will be able to navigate quick keys, H for heading, B for button, V and U for link. What we've written here is an instructional objective. That means that we've written just the behavior of the IEP goal, right? You know how an IEP goal has 4 things, it needs 4 things, right? It needs the condition, given, a screen reader, laptop, whatever accommodations, screen reader, cheat sheet, whatever you need. Condition, the student name, so Sally, and then we've written the behavior for you. Sally will be able to navigate by quick keys, for example, H for heading, B for button, V and U for link, and then the criteria. Independently in 3 out of 4 trials, with 1 prompt in 4 out of 5 trials, whatever you feel that Sally needs as an accommodation and as a criteria, you add that in yourself. But what you can do is you can take these objectives and write them as an IEP goal. A really common IEP goal that I write for my beginning screen reader users is, it's not on here, but I have the 3 objectives. I do 3 objectives, right? Or 4. So 3 or 4 objectives. I do objective 1, student will be able to, so given a screen reader with laptop, a laptop with screen reader software, objective 1 will be Sally will be able to use the tab key to navigate to the next clickable object or shift tab for previews. That's objective 1. Then I use objective 2. Sally will be able to, same thing, conditions given laptop screen reader instruction by September 2021, whatever it is. Sally will be able to use quick keys. That's objective 2. And then objective 3, same thing, be able to use elements lists. And then you put the criteria at the end, independently in 4 to 5 trials. And then the goal, right? And then the goal is what I write is Sally will be able to use multiple methods of internet navigation in 4 out of 5 trials. Remember, make sure that you have the conditions, you put any accommodations in, that behavior, multiple methods of internet navigation, and then the criteria at the end. Let's see, how many different screen readers are you teaching with students? This is a great question. Democracy rules. I love it, Abby. A concern. So this is Sandra. Yep, Sandra. I have a concern I have with JAWS is the cost of a student post high school or on non-school computers. So I lean towards other options. Yeah, that's a great question, Sandra. Actually, with my students, as long as they are past the basics, I introduce them to multiple screen reader options. For our students, NVDA has become a viable option. We no longer really need to unless there's a specific reason, NVDA is a powerful screen reader. If you're concerned about maybe the situation being that the student has multiple computers at home, they want to be able to use dad's computer, they want to use mom's computer, they want to use auntie's computer, I then say, okay, we'll teach them NVDA. There's no problem with that. I think people get a little scared off by saying, by thinking that, oh, NVDA must be worse because it's free. It's not. It's a really great screen reader. It's something that absolutely, like you say, Sandra, after high school, that's the screen reader they're going to use. I almost guarantee it. Why wouldn't they use it? It's a powerful screen reader and it's free, right? In Maryland, I know the Department of DOORS, Department of Rehab Services, usually they assume you're going to buy NVDA. They're not going to purchase JAWS for a student if they can just use NVDA. So that's a really great question, Sandra. I would say if they're past the basics, I tell them, guess what? JAWS and NVDA, they work almost the same way. And my students, many of my students that are in high school will be using both simultaneously. And they know if something doesn't work on NVDA, they switch over to JAWS. That's just their expectation. So great question. I use JAWS. Yep. So Shelly, yeah, absolutely. JAWS has too many licensing issues. That is an issue. Absolutely. Right now, I actually have to go and activate JAWS on a couple of student computers. That's not the issue with NVDA. We can just download it from the internet, go ahead and throw it on the computer. It's ready to use. Absolutely, Shelly. So yeah, that's it. These are great questions. I love them. And something that we should continue to talk about, especially continue to monitor as JAWS gets maybe more features or NVDA gets more updates. It's always something that's going to be changing. So yeah, thanks guys for asking those questions in the chat. I'm sure that there are other people with them. So let's get to our demonstration. Let's turn on NVDA. And I'm gonna do our demonstration of a navigation sequence and show you how all of those objectives in the screen reader progression kind of build off of one another. Let me throw on, I don't need to do that. I'm using NVDA. As usual, if you can't hear the screen reader, please let me know.
Task.
So that I can fix my share. Let's
screen reader skills progression spring meeting data sheet 3 skill success taken from the screen reader progression.
I'm just reading one of JAWS tech support came in clutch several occasions for my students. Absolutely. And that is one of the things that if my student is using JAWS, I tell them, guess what? You can call Freedom Scientific and you can ask them. And that's a great experience for you as well. I don't think we should shut out JAWS as an option. For many students, that is a good option for them. Whether it's that JAWS is proprietary and school districts like it because it's secure. That's another option as well. So let's do demonstration and keep talking in the chat. I love it. I'll take a look at it after the demonstration as well. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is, and this is actually a lesson that I did today with a student. So this is really cool. And I'm really excited about this lesson. But what I have as an IEP goal for this student is that he will be able to verbalize the process that he is going through, right? So it's very much so similar to that objective 9 in phase 3, that he's developing his own navigation sequence. Today, we worked off of Olive Garden. So he did a Google search for Olive Garden. I think Google. They're taking out the dumpster outside my apartment. So that's what you're probably hearing. All right, so he's gonna go to the Olive Garden website. He's gonna do our skip to main content trick. If you don't know it, it's tab.
Skip to main content.
Skip to main content. Pressing enter will put you at the first search result.
Ads region clickable Olive Garden region.
Absolutely. And at this point, I'm gonna start your kind of help us out here with vision. So I'm gonna move my Braille viewer to the side. At this point, his goal is what navigation sequence am I gonna use, right? So this is the 3 questions that I tell him. First of all, first question that we can do with this instruction, is it a stay or is it a go? All right. So a stay means I'm going to stay on this page. That is, if I'm trying to look up the menu of Olive Garden to make sure that I know what I'm going to eat before I go there, right? Is that information going to be on this page or is it going to be on the next page or on another page? Well, it's going to be probably on another page. I'm going to go, right? So stay or go. What does that tell me? Well, it tells me the type of element I'm looking for. If I'm going to another page, what type of element am I going to? Is it going to be a text element where it's just providing information like a heading, text, a graphic, or is it going to be a clickable object like a link or a button? It's going to be a clickable object, right? So if I'm trying to go to another page, it's going to be a clickable object. So stay or go? Go. I'm looking for a clickable object. Can you see how as we start to go through this process, I need to know my element types. I need to know what clickable objects are. I need to know what they do. I need to be able to define them and identify them. Those are all of these objectives that are involved in that one question. We're not even done yet. So if in order for our student to be able to be even within grasp of this objective, they need to know their element types, right? Second question. Is the target element that I'm looking for close by? Or do I not know, right? So the target element I'm probably looking for, it's going to be a link, right? A clickable object, right? A link to another page. And is it going to be at the top of the website? Maybe, but I don't really know, right? I don't really know. So what that has done is it has eliminated method 1. I'm not going to get there with tab, right? I'm not going to get there with tab. Why? Because I don't know where it is on the page. I might do tab 150 times and that link that I'm looking for could be at the bottom. So not going to use tab. All right. What does that require from our students? They need to know at least that first method of internet navigation. They need to know that tab is something that you use when something is close by, right? So they need to know the element types. They need to know method 1 and they need to know what method 1 does, right? Second question. Can you guess the third question. Third question. Can you guess the name of that element? What is that element going to be called? I know it's probably a link. I know it's probably not close by, so I'm not going to use method 1. Can I guess the name? Probably, right? I'm probably looking for a link named menu, right? That would make sense. If I'm looking for the menu of the restaurant, I'm probably looking for a link named menu, right? Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that I'm probably going to be using method 3, elements lists, right? Why? Because I can use first letter navigation to jump right there. It doesn't matter where on the website I am, but in order to know that I need to use an elements list, I need to know that elements list is something that you use when you know the name of the link, right? So I need to know method 1. I need to know method 3. I need to know the types of elements. And then let's say I don't know the name of the link. Let's say I can't. Well, then what are you going to use? The only method left, quick keys, method 2, right? So that means that you have to know method 2 as well. All right. You also have to be able to justify why you're using each method. You have to know why we use each method. So as you can see, if we look through our screen reader progression, this one objective, right, to develop a navigation sequence is building off of all of those objectives we have before. I'm going to show you how powerful this exercise is and how doing all of those objectives or meeting all of those objectives before you do this activity will get you to the place that I just got. So I'm going to be using method 3, elements list. I know I'm looking for a link named menu. Let's do it. All right. So I'm going to do, I'm using NVDA, right? So I'm going to use elements list. So that's NVDA key plus F7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, let me make sure my program focus is in range. Another thing that I need to know.
Start your online order to go all elements list dialog. Tree view. Level 0 skip to main content 1 of 40.
And I'm in links list. I need to know that when I open elements list that I start in links list. So you have to have experience with that. And what am I looking for? A link named menu, right? So I'm going to use initial letter navigation, M.
Menu 4 of 40 level 0.
Let's say, and of course, this is a demonstration. So I already knew this website. I chose this website because this was going to work so well. But when I did this with my student this morning, right, because he had met all of those things, he walked through the process that I just said by himself, right? I kind of coached him through the questions. Okay, is it stay or is it go? Is it close by? Is it, can you guess the name, right? He walked that through, walked through that himself, right? And he was able to find menu on the first go. The beauty of this, and this is where I go back to, we want to make sure that we bring all of our tools to our construction site, is that instead of just fumbling around a website, right, our students can use all of those tools, can use their hammer, can use their screwdriver, can use their drill, can use their jackhammer, think through the situation, and in one motion, in one key command, they can make a really good prediction as to what they're looking for on an unfamiliar website. And I know this because I saw it this morning, and it's awesome. It's just so cool because that is the goal, right? That is the goal. Let me take a look at some of these comments here. Obviously, I can go through
Start your online order to.
And we can go through the whole,
find a location, Olive Garden.
The whole process. And this is really interesting, this website, because, and this is a total side note, but you would expect to just then get to the menu, right? Well, the next step is, we'll find a location, and the student has to figure out what is on this website, so that they're like, oh, it's not a menu on this website. What is it, right? And that's kind of it's a fun activity. So anyway, that's the demonstration, just to show you how effective it is when you build objectives off of each other. And we've done it for you in that screen reader skills progression. Let me take a look. Yeah, we're definitely talking about NVDA versus JAWS. Abby, I agree. I will say JAWS tech support has come clutch on several occasions for my students as well. Mine as well. Yeah, I love being able to just have the student call up and say, hey, I'm having this issue. What's going on? Sandra, I currently started working with a high school student who relies only on the Braille Note Touch. Any suggestions to convince her that she also needs to be proficient with her computer and a screen reader? What a great question. This is a question that is in our field so much nowadays. And that's a tough sell, Sandra. I will let you know that right now. I would say that raising the expectation of what she is expected to do, right? And when I say raising the expectation, I mean if her student is if her school is all online, saying you are expected to be online with everybody else, you're expected to do all of the work that everybody else is doing, then you are going to start to see opportunities in which the Braille Note Touch will not work, right? The Braille Note Touch has a finite number of things that they can use. I think we are all very kind of hesitant to say, oh, I don't want to make work inaccessible for students. And obviously we don't want to make work inaccessible for students, but we should expect them to use a computer if that is within their reach. So if you're saying, for example, if you're saying, oh, the student's going to get their work online on a learning management system like Schoology or Google Classroom, and you're making the conversion that, okay, now I'm going to take it off of Schoology because it doesn't work great on the Braille Note Touch. I'm going to do a conversion. I'm going to upload it to Google Drive so that you can access it with your touch. My argument would be, let's find a way for us to expect that your student is actually going onto Schoology and getting the work herself, right? I don't think that that's an unreasonable request, because that is completely accessible with a computer, if that makes sense. So if we raise the expectation to say, this is something that you can do, right? To be able to access work like everybody else, right? Then you're going to start to find that Braille Note Touch is going to lose its luster. Because it can only do a finite number of things. I hope that answers your question, Sandra. It's all about, and obviously having the conversation with the student. I want to make sure that we all are aware. Let me stop sharing. I want to make sure that we're all aware that the student should be involved in this decision. With my students, I really am a big proponent of getting them to make that decision, setting the environment up so that they are the ones making the decision. And at the in our sessions together, I'm like, this is your choice. You can use the Braille Note Touch. You can struggle through using the Braille Note Touch, using Schoology or using Google Classroom. Go ahead, be my guest. But if I make the expectation something that the Braille Note Touch is really bad at, and it's going to lose its luster. And I think that that's probably the way that we should approach it. Not necessarily saying you have to use a computer, you have to use, and this is the same thing with Braille, you have to use Braille, right? Of course, we all want students to be using the tools that are best for them, but altering the environment and giving the student control, altering the environment so that the tool kind of rises to the surface, the tool that we want rises to the surface and everything else doesn't look so good. That is really effective in my opinion. So great question. Let me do what I promised for you guys and show you this data sheet. This is something that is not currently out now. We have an open enrollment coming January 29th. This open enrollment, actually, we're really excited about. If you are enrolled in our basic internet navigation course, where you're learning those 3 basic methods of internet navigation, method 1, method 2, method 3, you know how great of a tool that is and how great of a tool that is for as a teacher. What we're doing in this open enrollment, this next open enrollment on January 29th, is we're making a teacher version of that course. And if you can enroll your student in the student course, you can enroll yourself in the teacher course, and in that teacher, and then connect them. So anytime that your student takes a quiz or takes a test in their student course, you'll get an email with their score. So that's really cool. And then the other thing that we're doing is we're making these really cool self-calculating data sheets that you can use to track your students' progress, right? And which is so cool. And I'm going to show you one of those now. The other things that we're doing is we're making mock websites in that course. We're making activities that go along with those mock websites. We're showing you how to do a Google search challenge. So all these really fun activities that you can do with your students, that's all coming January 29th. But what I want to show you here, found the course quite valuable. Thanks, Sandra. I hope you did. I really hope that it is helpful. But what I want to show you here is one of the data sheets related to the screen reader progression. We try to make really fun names for our data sheets because, you know, I'm a teacher and I like fun names for data sheets. But we called this one Skill Success, okay? And this is the data sheet related to, oops, I went to the wrong browser here. That's our screen reader skills progression. This is the data sheet that is related to the screen reader skills progression. So here it is. This is our screen reader skills progression data sheet that will be available in that teacher's course. So we have our rating scale here, 3, 2, 1, 0, and not introduced X, right? So we can either mark a skill as mastered as a 3. So that means completed, no hesitation, no prompting. A 2 means that they hesitated. So that means they completed it. No prompting, but they hesitated a little bit. They're like, okay. And then they did the skill, right? That's a 2. Prompted is a 1. So that means they completed the skill, but they needed some verbal prompting, physical prompt, whatever you needed. They needed some prompting. And then 0, they did not complete it, right? So even with prompting, they didn't complete it. And then of course, X is not introduced. And then here we have all of our screen reader skills progression objectives, right? Those behaviors, whether it's an IEP goal. Oh, we aren't seeing the chart. Oh, okay, hold on. Thanks, Shelly. Let me make sure that I'm sharing the right thing. Screen, there we go. Okay, hopefully you guys see it now. So let me do that one more time. So there's always something in an IT Live episode that I forget to do. So here we go, skills success. We have a 3, a 2, a 1, a 0, and an X, all right? 3, mastered. 2 is hesitated. 1 is prompted. 0 is attempted but not completed, and then X, not introduced. Okay. Let me know if you're seeing the chart now, Shelly. On the left-hand side here, we have all of our objectives from our screen reader skills progression in order. So we have phase 1, reading, right? Phase 2, writing. Awesome. Thanks, Shelly. And then phase 3, the internet, right? And what I did here is I started just filling in some data for us to kind of look at, all right? Now, the beautiful thing about this data sheet is it's self-calculating. That means that if we scroll all the way down to the bottom here, we get an average mastery score, okay? And we get a maximum score achieved and a date at which that maximum score was achieved. Now, this is really great information because if that average mastery score and the maximum score achieved are very far apart, like they are here, right? My average mastery score is 1.86. My maximum score achieved is 3, right? I know that my student has completed that objective, that they can do that objective, but they just recently completed it, right? Or they're not very consistent, one of those. And then I can see the date that they did it. Now that's really cool and all, but how does that help us make decisions? It kind of helps us make decisions a little bit, but not a ton. What is really great about this is that down below here, if you can see, there's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. If I click them, you get a chart of their progression in that objective. So this one is, of course, a skill 1.1. We can see that they're still very inconsistent because I was just clicking numbers. This isn't real data, but they were very, quote, inconsistent in this skill. Maybe this is something that we need to work on. Now they've completed it a couple of times, but we still might need some work on this objective. We have this for all of our objectives here, and it will be self-calculating. So that means that, let's say skill 1.2 here. So let's say, okay, so they started, that's not very realistic data. Let's say they started at a 0, right? Because that would make sense. Started at a 0, then they went to a 1, right? Maybe they did another 1. Oop. Maybe they did another 1. Then maybe the next time they got a 2, and then they got a 3, right? Let's go to 1.2. Boom, there's our data, all right? So this is something that you can, obviously you can print, you can download, you can bring to an IEP meeting, you can help make decisions with this. This is, and this is something that if you are using this, as Sandra said earlier in the episode, if you are using this as your IEP goal, guess what? You already have a data sheet ready to go to take data on your IEP goal. Now, people ask me kind of what happens if you don't take data on every objective every time. I just threw in a data point here into objective 4.2. All right, let me make sure that I can get to 4.2. Oh, my Zoom controls are in the way. Hold on. Of course they are. Go to 4.2. I'm going to scroll over here and go to 4.2. 4.2. Oh, yeah, this is a work in progress. So as you can see, it is not ready yet. So 4.2 is not yet programmed. We haven't finished this data sheet. But if you do have an objective where you skip a section, all you're going to do is just have a blank in there. So it's going to show you that it is blank, that you didn't take data that section. But hopefully this is something that you can use to take data to make your decision-making better, right? So you can very quickly see, oh, this is what we need to work on, right? That's what we're trying to do with these data sheets, okay? That's just a sneak peek. If you do have any questions about anything we covered today, including the screen reader skills progression and where to find it, let me show you where to find that one more time, just for the sake of consistency. If you do want the screen reader skills progression, what you're going to do is go to courses. I'm sorry, not courses. You could go to courses.itvision.com, but you could just go to itvision.com, EYETVISION.com. I'm already logged in. If you see a sign up link up at the top, go ahead and make your account. It's free. And then what you're going to do is, if you are not already enrolled in this course, you're going to go to all courses. You're going to go to Introduction to Screen Reader Instruction. And you are going to enroll in that course. You can say enroll, right? Once you're there, you're going to go to welcome. And all of the materials that we offer for free for our screen reader instruction are available in this course, including the updated version of the screen reader skills progression. So if you already have a copy of this, go ahead and download it again, okay? Because we just updated it today, all right? We also, in this course, of course, have our lesson brainstorming worksheet. So if you are stuck, if you don't know where to start to plan a screen reader lesson, this is what you want to use, all right? So step one, and this is what the course goes through. Step one, teach the what and why before the how. What is the student doing? This cannot include key commands. Things like that to get you started, to get those juices flowing, right? It also includes all of our screen reader cheat sheets, including those for NVDA, for JAWS, for Chromevox, and of course, NVDA in Spanish, which we just released last week, which is really exciting. And all of these cheat sheets are available. I think actually the only one that is not available is Chromevox in BRF, but all of them are available in accessible PDFs. So you can download this and you can access it with a screen reader. And it's also in a doc format. And JAWS and NVDA are in a BRF. So it's just translated Braille format. So you can emboss them, you can send them to a student, they can read it, for example, Sandra, on that Braille Note Touch in Key BRF. So really, really valuable resources. All of that is in the Introduction to Screen Reader course. Obviously, if you enroll, go through the course, see our process, see our guiding principles, and hopefully you can use this screen reader progression to your value. If you do have any questions as we start to wrap up, definitely put them in the chat so that we can get them answered. If not, you can always email us info@itvision.com. That's INFOEYETVISION. Or if you're enrolled in any one of our courses, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and put a comment. I reply to them daily. Okay. As you can see, people regularly put questions down in the comments section and you can do that at any point in the course. I really, really, really appreciate you all. Just some updates. We will not be having an IT Live episode for the next 2 weeks so that everybody can kind of relax, enjoy the holidays. Don't think about teaching. I know it'll be hard, but really just enjoy the holidays and enjoy your family if you are fortunate to have them around. We're going to be taking a break. The next IT Live episode will be after the new year. Again, we do this on Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I wish you all a really happy, a healthy, a safe holiday break. And I appreciate all of you as colleagues. And I really appreciate you coming and taking this time out of your busy schedules to make this a priority in your students' education. Computer literacy is absolutely something that we need to devote more time to as a field. And you guys are already starting that. So I really appreciate that. Have a great holiday break, and I hope to see you all after the holidays. Thank you so much.